I was just waiting to see if you were going to say anything. Welcome to the Guy at the Movies
Welcome
podcast.
to the Guy at the Movies podcast. Oh, that was we're just not in sync.
Not in sync. More Backstreet Boys. Welcome to the Guy at the Movies podcast with Joe. Is that the name of this? The Guy at the Movies podcast with Joe and Sean. I am Joe. He is Sean. We are in for some fun tonight. How are you?
You get progressively worse when it comes to the introduction of the title. I'm worried about you.
You and I talked about this a while ago when we have things that throw us off our schedule with the podcast, and we end up doing it on a different day. Like today, when we were just trying to figure it out, and we decided to do it tonight. It just throws you off completely, and that's where we are. That's what's happening with this.
That is true. That I feel the same way because we looked at Just to give a little backseat, Tuesday unfortunately doesn't work for us, and the rest of the week doesn't work for me. And so none of us for a while figured out, wait a minute, both of us have Monday open, and we just didn't even think to have a podcast on Monday. And I know why now, because I'm in the midst of falling asleep currently.
Oh, great. This should be fun.
Oh, yeah. No, it's going to be great.
Well, let's dive into it, and we are going to start with a nice little conversation about the film *Malignant*, James Wan's latest foray back into horror, which debuted in theaters and HBO Max on Friday without any Thursday screenings, which is always concerning. Why don't you start off, Sean? What were your thoughts on *Malignant*?
Well, first and foremost, apparently the rest of the world loves this movie, so I will be treading softly. And I understand why they do love it, and I appreciate their love for it. I think that director James Wan is very interesting in that he has he always tries to thread a very difficult needle into being just absolutely ridiculous and also and fun as well. And often it works. Furious 7. Aquaman, cinematic masterpiece. And sometimes even the Conjuring movies just sort of actually toe that line and maybe go a little bit more into the seriousness, even though they have a lot of wanifications, the camera zooming everywhere.
You say wanifications?
Wanifications. And I'm trademark. And I appreciate all that he does. I think I appreciated a lot of this movie. But I don't think he threads that needle. In fact, I don't think there's an eye in this needle right there. I think it's just you can't even get it through because there's so much that's silly about this. Mm-hmm. There's so much that's odd that it's really difficult to grab hold of. There's some really cool scenes, some really cool stuff. I recommend everyone watch this.
Absolutely.
Because it is a fun ride. I just think that so much of the connections in between those fun moments were really padded together with some expired glue that I just did not like. I'm being very metaphorical here. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Go for it.
Let's be a wanification. I had a very similar experience. I think the film failed for me on a couple levels, but I did enjoy it enough I'll recommend it to people to watch. Number one, I really enjoyed the cinematography, and there were some neat things that were done. So especially the aerial shot of the house when she's going from room to room, that was just really neat and something different that you don't always see. And then the actual third act, we talk about third acts all the time, but the wanification, if we will, of the third act was batshit crazy. And it was just it kind of made up for some dull moments earlier. But in saying dull moments, the movie does just take off running. It never really slows down, but I think that was to a detriment. I usually enjoy that, but to me, it was a detriment. The story was just weak to me, did not fire on all cylinders, and was a little frustrating in terms of trying to connect to the characters. Now, part of that, and I don't like to be mean all the time, but Annabelle Wallis, I did not care for her in this movie. I didn't think she was good in the role. I didn't really like the role. It's just all in all a goofy movie, and that's fine. And it's okay to have those. But then, when the filmmakers and those in the film are taking it very seriously and not playing into that fun, it misses its tone, and it misfired on the tone. But hey, it was entertaining. It got me a few times with some jumps. It's more, I would say, more gore and shock value than anything else. But if you saw Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, you saw this movie.
Jesus, that is true. I will say like one thing where you say the gore and everything, and that was the part that really bothered me because it was centered around gore, and there was just a lot of CGI blood, and I mean, I think you're going to be talking about that later, but like to the point where you just knew it. And I look at other movies, I look at like the Tarantino movies that use like the stage like blood and stuff, like for an artistic purpose, and so I guess that's fine, that's what they're trying to say, because I think Warner Brothers could give James Wan enough money to like stage some more practical effects, but I don't know, it annoyed me a little.
Something tells me the budget must not have been very big on this because they also didn't promote any of it. Like they put out like 2 trailers. One you said was basically the movie.
Well, in a way, it was the movie. It wasn't even the movie. It was just 4 minutes of the movie, and I was like, "What is going on?"
Oh my god! Yeah, I don't know. It was handled interestingly, but I think what you're seeing, and maybe this is what you're alluding to with people that really enjoy it, James Wan enthusiasts are like, oh, this is it. He's back. And that's great. But I think I said this to you maybe after I watched it, that I like James Wan, and I think he's done a lot of great things in horror. But I also like when directors evolve what they're doing. And this to me wasn't an evolution of his approach to horror. It was more of a backtracking and a simplistic approach. Did a few cool things in there, went balls to the wall in the third act, but to me, it just wasn't what I expected.
Now, what would you say? Because I was going to push you on this, but I was in the middle of watching it, so I got distracted. But you were talking about those words, James Wan needs to evolve. Sort of how so? Like, what would it look like for him? I'm not saying pitch the next Wan movie, but like, what would it look like with him? Like,
I think it would look like something different with the story. I mean, like this wasn't a very creative story, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It was kind of goofy, and as I already said, and like once you get the crux of what's happening, which you kind of pick up on soon, like earlier, right? I don't know. I just feel like I would like to see more intelligent horror from him instead of just relying on what people say he does well that I don't even think was done well in this film.
Well, and now we talk about the horror situation where we think about, and I've heard a few people talking about this, where we have now 2 horrors. We have goofy, silly horror like this, and then we have prestige horror like Hereditary or Midsommar or something like that. I think they both have their strengths and they both have their weaknesses. But is this sort of like where the future of horror is going? Like, is it just down these 2 avenues? Is there anything that can bridge the gap?
Oh, probably, but. Yeah. I mean, like we just had The Night House, which was solid horror,
very solid horror,
and we've had some other stuff that was really good as well. With just even goofier stuff. Like thinking about James Wan's some stuff with like the Conjuring universe, right? The Conjuring films to me aren't silly, but the Annabelle story, right, gets a little silly. And like, when you start branching out into some of the characters that are introduced there, then you're getting into silliness. And that's okay. And I expect them from those movies. Maybe it comes down to marketing with this too.
Yeah.
But they kept saying like, and I think even in some of his interviews, James Wan said he wanted to take a new approach to telling a horror story. What was that new approach?
Wasn't there.
There wasn't a new approach to me. And I guess maybe it was just the expectation was built up. But yeah.
It's funny you said that this is pretty much just like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, because the mental hospital looks just like Hogwarts, where it's just like this gigantic castle of a mental hospital that got shut down years ago. It's like, are we going to tear this giant building down? Like, nope, we're not. Okay.
Yeah, that like people can just go into very easily. And
hey, she kind of like, walked over a fence.
A fence that was like perfectly sized for her to get through. I don't know. And her character was fascinating as well. But we'll save that for another day.
Will we?
Maybe. All right. Let's move on to what else we've been watching. I'm going to jump in here. I've been covering films for TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival. It's been a wild ride so far. Some good films, some not so great films. Watched a documentary today that comes from the filmmakers behind the RBG film, which is Julie Cohen and Betsy West. I believe Betsy West was involved in that. I know Julie Cohen definitely was. Yeah, Betsy West was. the RBG film, which is widely considered just a very good documentary. And this was about Julia Childs, and it was good. I liked it. I love a good documentary, and sometimes I find it hard to judge them because it's like, it's the subject matter. Kind of like the Sparks Brothers documentary that I think took me like 7 days to watch because it was 7 days long.
It's 7 days long, yeah.
This is really good, and it's really fascinating because Julia Childs does have a rich history, and she really was the first like big celebrity chef, and kind of pioneered, I guess, the way for cookbooks and celebrity chefs and all of that, but also did it at a time where like she was expected to marry, and her father wanted her to marry like within a prominent family and remain Republican, which she did not, which is a funny aspect of that story. But she popped onto the scene in the early 60s with her show, and that's kind of unheard of for a woman to have such success and really chart her own path. So in that sense, I really enjoyed it. The film is a little unbalanced. The first half kind of takes like a good period of time to kind of establish like her early years or whatever. And then later on, it kind of hits like some controversies and some stumbling blocks and some issues that came up, but you kind of get them all in the second half. So it's just, it's kind of a weirdly formulated documentary, and the structure was a little off to me, but it's fascinating. I mean, I didn't know everything that I learned about her from this film, and that's always what you want to get out of a documentary. So definitely check it out. It's really well done. I know that you weren't the biggest fan of the RBG film, but I just really like how these two approach their documentaries. I think it's less of a snapshot in time and more of a focus on the story and the meaning of the experiences of the individual they're documenting. So I really enjoy that, but definitely check it out. I don't know when it's coming out. I know it's doing the festival circuit right now. It was at Telluride last week, and now it's at TIFF. But check that out I think it's a CNN film, so CNN will probably have it at some point too.
Maybe if CNN, then I'm just gonna guess, and I have a very, very large Hulu package, but I'm assuming Hulu's gonna throw it on there or something like that.
Probably. I mean, RBG did a good theatrical run, pretty solid theatrical run, I think. But we'll see. I'm sure the thing with those, and another documentary that was at the festival is Memory Box: Echoes of 9/11. And
oh yes,
that was on MSNBC, and it's on Peacock streaming now. So it probably actually HBO Max I could see grabbing it, right? Because of CNN.
That would make sense. Yeah. I forget if HBO Max owns like everything.
Essentially. But what have you been watching, Sean?
Oh boy, well, I've been watching one of your favorite movies of the year. So I watched The Card Counter, and this was just like, this has been the most fascinating week. That was the most fascinating review for me. This really is just like, it was a fascinating movie. And I say fascinating a lot because that's the only word that could truly describe this movie. I mean, when it comes to The Card Counter, I gave it a C. And I still do love it for some reason, but it does have flaws that are way too apparent to ignore and way too apparent to like let pass. And usually I let those pass, but I couldn't with this. I will say, in terms of the flaws, this is a film written and directed by Paul Schrader, Facebook hero, and he's just not a great director, but he is in charge of a lot of the writing from our times, especially a lot of Scorsese collabs. And I think I like the writing of this film a lot. Dialogue, no, but the actual like story and structure and how this character is possessed, well done. His directing is bad in this movie. And apparently, like if we look at the behind the scenes look, this was like several COVID delays. So there's a lot of stuff that had to get pieced together, which, hey, a director can do that, but I do sympathize with him in some ways with that. So like, there was some moments where, like Tiffany Haddish was not like I don't know the proper, but her sound was off. And like, it was just like, all of a sudden it was just like, she was louder and it sounded like she was narrating. And I'm like, no, she's not narrating. She's talking. Oh my God, what is going on? And so I will say that, I will start with the performances here where Oscar Isaac was exceptional. Like absolutely. Really just dove into a dark character and did like the very calm about to explode like situation, and you never really know if he's going to explode. And I'm looking back, and I forgot if he explodes, because there's moments where you just see him with just like pure anger, like being stored in him. Tiffany Haddish was holding it back. She was, I don't know if she was directed to hold it back, but with the like charisma that she sort of naturally has, seeing that was just odd and unsettling, and they should have just kind of let her loose, because it would have been more fun for the character, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Her
character was poorly written, in my opinion, and I got into an argument with someone, or not really an argument, but they were telling me like what movies they watched, and they loved the card counter. And they're like, I can't believe you hated the card counter. And he was like, it's so good, Oscar Isaac. And I said, per my review, he was great. But then he said he was impressed with Tiffany, and that's what I really don't agree with. I just don't think she had anything to work with.
No, you're right. It was a very poorly written character. And I think, unfortunately, here's the thing. It was designed to be almost like that character was not meant to be anything. Like it was like, and that's not an excuse for it, I guess, or anything like that. But don't put someone who's like, kind of beloved right now and on a hot streak, honestly, put a B-level actor, give them a thrill, give them some money for this, and, put them in there. And I think the character it wouldn't work still, but it would be a little bit lower, tier. I will say Willem Dafoe didn't need to be in this movie. Like, he's in about 10 minutes of it, and
I actually just completely forgot he was in it.
of course you did. Because, and here's the thing: there's he's basically the villain, and the most satisfying. And this is the other thing I had a problem with it. The most satisfying moment with the villain at the end is just completely unsatisfying, because it's utterly ambiguous. I truly don't know what happened, and that was the problem. And that's where that's why this movie sort of hit a C with me, because there is portions of this that I really loved. I mean, this had like the gritty 70s theme of gambling, all up in it. Oh man, I was like, I just loved that. The dynamic of the shitty mentor with the unwilling mentee was truly a great back and forth between him and a quite unrecognizable Ty Sheridan. Didn't know it was him until I saw those credits. That was fun. But I liked this quite a bit.
So maybe I'm thinking of this because of just the connection with gambling and stuff. But I keep thinking back to Aaron Sorkin's film with Jessica Chastain. That was, oh my gosh, why I'm forgetting
Molly's
the name.
Game. Yeah.
Molly's Game. And I really enjoy Molly's Game. But Molly's Game had a similar feel of sort of like a slow boil, but it did it the Sorkin way, and it was fascinating and interesting. And I was just not hooked here. Even some of the flashback scenes and stuff, I had someone say to me they were just haunting, and I was like, okay.
That weird fisheye lens that wasn't a fisheye lens. That I did not like at all. It's you know what? That didn't make it haunting. It film it properly, and that makes it haunting, because this is horrible things that are happening. So actually film them with a little bit of respect. I mean,
right.
And instead it was this weird thing, this look what I can do shot from the director, which the guy's too old to be doing that stupid crap.
Someone in the comments just mentioned Scenes from a Marriage. I have not watched this yet. Someone else also told me I needed to watch this because of Oscar Isaac in it, and Jessica Chastain, Michelle Williams.
As someone who is getting married in November, I don't know if Scenes from a Marriage is actually maybe that's like Jaws before the big beach trip. That's my best idea, but no, I will definitely check that out. I didn't know it came out. It came out last night, apparently.
I guess so. It's been the thing today.
I can't keep up. I'm just looking at their red carpet schmooze fest. But
it's a series, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
I don't know. Anything else you've been watching, Sean?
I just want to give a quick shout out to this because that was my main one, was the card counter. But I watched the filmed live play Come From Away on Apple TV Plus, and I really want that to be something that everyone sees. We're all watching a lot of 9/11 documentaries, of course we are, and obviously keep those in your memory. This is a live Broadway play about several planes that came to Newfoundland, during the attacks and everything. Beautiful story, beautifully done. It's one of these things where I'd love it to be an actual movie, so I'm not really calling this a movie, just like, I'm not calling the filmed Hamilton a movie. But in regards to that, like this is still like great to check out. It's really beautiful, amazing music. Couldn't recommend it highly enough.
If you are interested, and I think you would be, there's a documentary on this story, the true story behind this. It's called "You Are Here, a Come From Away Story." Yeah, and I'm trying to see where it's showing real quick, but I'm not able to pick it up.
Do they sing in this?
No. It's literally a documentary. It's like footage on the ground when it was happening. And
oh my God, they had footage of that? Oh yeah, they did have footage. Yeah, that makes sense.
I saw it a couple of years ago. It came out in 2018. It was actually one of the first reviews I think I did for Guide to Movies, now that I think about it. But it's just a really great documentary. So I do recommend that, especially after seeing the show, because you kind of get a little bit of a different take on it. But
I'll keep an eye on that, yeah.
Find it. Watch it. Do it. I'm surprised it's not in more theaters right now, honestly, because of 9/11. I would think that it would be thrown back in. Oh,
I think Apple TV Plus, they're just keeping their stuff with them, right?
No. I mean the documentary. The documentary. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's take a break. And we're back. All right. So we are going to continue on with something that we started last week, or actually a couple weeks ago. We've kind of gone back and forth with doing this. But we did get 2 new trailers that we want to be sure to highlight and discuss here. The first of which is going to be Marvel's new show that comes out on November 24th. And as our friend Griff Schiller said on Twitter that I just saw a little while ago, he said this is the most jovial and like positive New York City has looked in an MCU film, which I thought was really funny. All right, so here we go. This is the trailer for the Hawkeye series, and we're going.
This is the first Christmas we've had together in years.
I love you guys. I'm making up for some lost time.
Authorities are wondering if the masked vigilante who terrorized the city's underworld is back.
The past has caught up with me.
Should we be worried?
No, it's nothing. I'll be home for Christmas. I promise.
It's the most wonderful time.
When I wore this suit, I made a whole lot of enemies.
You're Hawkeye.
Who the hell are you?
Some people have actually called me the world's greatest archer.
Are you one of those people?
It's the most wonderful.
Hey, babe, I should be back in a day or two. Hang on a second.
With the kids jingle belling and everyone telling.
Things have gotten more complicated.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the most wonderful time. Yes, the most wonderful.
This is too dangerous. Definitely not this one.
You don't have to say definitely like that. Holy shit! There are arrows more dangerous than that
No, it's just some Christmas.
This was a choice. This was a choice that they made.
My favorite part of this trailer is so subtle or so short, but it's when his daughter goes, "Should we be worried?" Like, which essentially is like, what the fuck's going on now? What did you do?
You have a body count that's in the hundreds. Genuinely worried about you.
What are you thinking of this?
Okay. I don't know. That second watch did help me, kind of get me a little bit more excited. I mean, if we think about it before this, we had just like gloomy shows throughout. And this is the first one where we haven't had that, which is interesting considering Hawkeye has basically probably been pardoned for, once again, killing so many people, probably bad people, but not going through the justice system on them. and international issues with that and stuff. And I'm sure like those pardons are going to get cleared up. But, you know, it's one of those things where they do sort of look back at that, which is very interesting. Like you'd think they would just like, you know, kind of like, you know, yeah, they did that, move on. But they have a Bishop wear the suit, which is like really great. That means she was on like some sort of revenge war path. So they'll have dark stuff in this. I know that. Like, but they're keeping some Marvel fun action comedy cooking. Now I know that like the big rumors. I mean, Florence Pugh possibly, and this is a rumor. I know that Val, also known as Julia Louis-Dreyfus, is another rumor, and I heard one other rumor of a Marvel character that I can't remember. Maybe
was this the Hulk rumor?
I don't know if it was Hulk this time. I heard Val and then someone else, and I can't remember the other person. But anyway, like those are people that sort of elevate comedy as well. And I think this is going to be the most comedic one. It's a really cool thing that they're just making this a Christmas show. Yeah. Like I just think that's awesome. Like really, like it's just like, you know what? It's coming out now. I don't know when they've, you know, thank God the release dates worked out, especially in this COVID time. It seems like this is crazy. I will say my one concern still, and I think Jeremy Renner is a good actor, but for some reason in Marvel movies, he always just kind of acts like he doesn't want to be there, which maybe is the disposition of Hawkeye. But it's something where it's like he's a good actor. Like I see him in The Town. It's amazing and stuff like that. I don't know if this is his role for him. Now we put Haley Steinfeld there to soften him up. Haley Steinfeld's a lot of fun. Can those two mesh when he can sometimes have the charisma of a dry potato? And I don't know, like, you know, if that's going to work. I mean, I'm still excited, but that's my one concern.
There's a lot happening here with sort of his mentorship of Haley Steinfeld's character. Steinfeld. Sometimes I said Steinfeld and then thought Seinfeld, and then I'm like, oh my God, what am I saying? I'm wrong.
I could be wrong. You're right.
But anyway, funny. I just looked a movie up too that has Jeremy Renner in it because I want to reference it. And Annabelle Wallace, who we were just talking about a little while ago, is in that movie. So weird this is happening. Anyway, so it's really they're playing on that mentorship, and I think it's part of him being the father as well, and really, you know, getting his family back after the blip or whatever you want to call it. I'm into it. I mean, I'll watch anything they release. Let's be real.
Well, we have to watch it if we want to know anything about Marvel ever.
True. Yeah. But you know, I don't think they would just do a series like this if it didn't mean something, and there wasn't a purpose. So I'm interested to see where they go with it. And of course, there's all the rumors out there post Black Widow, like what that could look like, and it should be interesting. I wonder if this will be kind of like handing off the mantle of Hawkeye at the end of it, or if they'll just kind of reinvigorate him and maybe get people excited about the character in a way that they haven't been very excited about him in previous Marvel projects.
There hasn't really been, like, I think most of the original Avengers have, departed. I mean, Chris Hemsworth is still chilling as Thor, and, Mark Ruffalo is Hulk. But after that, I mean, Scarlett Johansson, maybe she'll come back. But, I think the other ones are gone for good, basically for good, unless we argue ones they're on the moon or something. But
yeah. See previous episodes. I think about Jeremy Renner and comedy, and I think of Tag right away. That crazy ass movie with John Hamm and Jake Johnson, and Ed Helms and Annabelle Wallace. I just learned that was her. Hannibal Buress. I don't know what I thought of his performance in that.
I think he's funny when he's not telling any jokes, and it's everyone else around him is funny, and that does make Renner funny. Like if you think about it, he's not funny in Tag, but he's funny in Tag because everyone else is funny.
He has a sarcastic humor that I appreciate and really am drawn to. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let's shift gears, keep this going, and talk about the other big trailer that we got last week. We talked about the teaser for it a little bit when we were on our pod last week. But then on Thursday, we got the full trailer for The Matrix Resurrections. I will also just point out here that it's not called The Matrix Resurrection. It's plural. So that's fascinating to me. But here we go.
Thomas, you seem particularly triggered right now. Can you tell me what happened?
I've had Dreams that weren't just dreams.
Am I crazy? We don't use that word in here.
Hi.
Have we met?
One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small. And the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall.
Time to fly.
And if you go chasing rabbits,
If you want the truth, Neo, you're going to have to fly me.
and you know you're going to fall.
The only thing that matters to you is still here. I know it's why you're still fighting and why you will never give up. You don't know me. No?
When logic and proportion have fallen, so be dead. And the white knight is talking backwards, and the red queens are overhead. Remember what the dogma said. Feed your head. Feed your
After all these years, to be going back to where it all started. Back to the Matrix.
Sometimes I can't remember if there's another scene or not after the title card.
They make it seem like that. There's a thud in the music, and that thud makes it seem like it's going to go quiet with one more scene. They structure that intentionally, and it drives me insane. I knew it. They're doing that on purpose, and I'm glad you thought that too.
So I want to say I think that's a really good trailer, in my opinion. It actually gets me really excited for the movie, and it looks like they are going to be doing some new things when it comes to the action, and then but also paying homage to the what we knew from or what we know from the Matrix when that came on the scene. It all in all to me looks action packed, but I couldn't tell you anything about the actual plot of this movie other than he's going back to the Matrix and like something like that. There's a lot of theories out there, and one of them is that it's like they're gonna loop in like John Wick and that type of stuff.
Of course,
like he's playing himself when we see him. And it's Keanu Reeves, like, I don't know, playing on reality a little bit. I don't really follow that. Don't necessarily agree with it. Don't really
also,
want it.
What studio does John Wick belong to?
I was just thinking that as I said it too. But I don't know. I'm excited to see where they go with this. And I like the cast additions. I'm still confused about the Morpheus thing. I do love Yahya Abdul-Mateen in a second. But I don't understand what's going on with his character. So,
I mean, hey, technically, they have not called him Morpheus. And I don't know if it says it on IMDb or anything like that, but
I think it does.
They do call him Morpheus. I've seen this so many times.
No, I'm not. I didn't say in the trailer. I think in IMDb it says it.
Oh, on IMDb. Okay, IMDb. Okay, fine. Like, all right. So I didn't look at that, but okay. So that shot my theory to hell. Like maybe it was someone else. Maybe it's a different iteration. I get, the world is computers in this movie universe. So they're like, oh, the Fishburne program quit. So they have to upload a new one or something. I don't know. They'll mess with it somehow. I will say, okay.
Just want to make sure you see it. For those of you listening and not watching tonight, it does in fact list him as Morpheus.
As there was one plot theory where Neo is just workshopping different gay therapists, and I'm for that one.
What
It
just
sounds great.
crossed my mind there at the end with when the snack that is Jonathan Groff came on the screen. He looks really good in this. That he and Neil Patrick Harris are one and the same, and I don't know how to prove that or whatever, but
The big one there is Neil Patrick Harris wearing blue glasses.
yep.
And that was like I saw that and I was
Yep.
just like, the minute my therapist starts wearing blue glasses, I'm like, oh no, I'm getting out of here.
There's also a lot of stuff in the background that I was trying to catch because I've seen people screen grab them, and I think there's some more. What?
I'm just to bounce off of that. There was one that was like it was behind Jonathan Groff, and it was like some sort of extremely blurry statue, and then they workshopped it to look like Agent Smith getting punched in the face. And I'm like, and if you look at the blur, I mean, it is a complete like not even close to anything that can resemble anything. And then they just put that there. I'm like, okay, now we're doing this now. I understand we're doing this, but come on.
Somebody shared a clip, and then like when it zoomed in, it was Miss Minutes going, "Hi."
That's actually pretty good. I will say about this movie, I'm also very excited. I have the usual cautious optimism of most. I agree. This is a sensational trailer. This is so well put together. Like you said, it shows a lot of different new things. It like shows like the old guard, and it says, "Hey, we know what happened in the third. Here, forget about that, because this is just going to be this reset button, but it's still going to be something interesting." Now, I wonder if this is going to be a Force Awakens thing where, you know, it's a remake, like kind of the same movie sort of deal. And I think they're workshopping so much stuff in this that I don't exactly know if that's how this is going to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just have no idea where this is going. I will say one of the theories that was interesting is apparently there was a Matrix Online game years ago. Did you see anything about this? So I think it was called The Matrix Online, and it got it's canon. It's considered canon apparently, and Morpheus is killed in it. So people like the theory. One of the theories is that's like you said, we're seeing another iteration of Morpheus, and we kind of see something weird in the teaser trailer with like him being put together in a way. Yahya being put together. Do you remember that picture?
I remember him touching the pool. I don't remember the picture of it's so funny because I literally like I had my eyes on it a lot more than usual, and I noticed so much more things. There's like so many tiny clips in this that are just visually stunning, and like also just are like a huge thing is happening for about a second, and then it goes to the next.
Absolutely. Here's what I'm referring to. This was from the teaser trailer. It's kind of like him being put together by
Oh, interesting.
bots.
Yeah, that works.
So I don't know. I'm excited for it. I mean, that would explain. I've said this over and over again. I do not believe that Lawrence Fishburne is not involved in this movie. You know, I'm tired of people trying to like fake us out.
I mean, if your John Wick theory is true, Fishburne's in John Wick, so we just bring it like, you know, all the way over. And
I would like to clarify that it's not my John Wick theory. I do not subscribe
to
to
the movies has officially said John Wick will be in Matrix.
I'm officially going to move on now, and we're going to talk about the news of the week. And the first story is some late breaking news from tonight, and it is that there is a spin-off series to the Batman in development at HBO Max. This will focus on the Penguin. It is one of approximately 37 different DC things going on at HBO Max. But this will, it has the producers behind the Batman involved. So Matt Reeves and Dylan Clark are going to be executive producing. And there's no word yet on whether it will involve Colin Farrell, but who knows? Colin Farrell's apparently in the Batman for like a minute. So it would be kind of interesting if they're planting those seeds, to see where it goes. But they're also already making a spinoff that focuses more on the corruption of Gotham City, and I think more of the police department, right? So there's a lot going on.
That's the show Gotham. I mean,
that's what I said.
Like, just stop it. What? I mean, oh God, I don't know.
Just stop it.
Stop it.
But it is interesting because we are getting a lot of DC properties on HBO Max. So in addition to that, there's a Constantine series coming out. I think J.J. Abrams is behind that, as well as Madam X. And then we're getting the Blue Beetle movie. I believe a Static Shock movie is going to HBO Max. And then we're getting Batgirl. So there's a lot going on.
But you know what's great about all those properties you just listed? I've never heard of them. And so I'm excited.
You never heard of Batgirl?
Well, okay. Before, also, I've never really seen Batgirl, but no, like before that one, I've never heard of those. I've never really seen anything with those, and that sounds good. Now, is this Penguin thing going to be great? If it involves Colin Farrell, that's a fascinating character. I'm in. Of course I'm in. But I'm just saying, I want to see these other Blue Beetle or Static Lightning or something like that, because I think that as someone who doesn't know anything about comics, that'll open more of a DC universe up to me instead.
Absolutely.
Because when you say we're going to make something a series about the corruption in Gotham, you got to actually be kidding me. It's just
again.
Oh boy, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure what they're doing. I don't understand what DC is doing. I mean, it's kind of odd for them to have this Batman film that they're saying is obviously everything's part of the DC extended universe in some way, and the multiverse allows that. But they're saying that this is an offshoot, and then you're going to build series around that offshoot and further confuse everything. It's when you have Aquaman happening, when you have all the series, with the Wonder Woman, we're getting a Wonder Woman 3 at some point, all this stuff. It's wild to me.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't get it.
No, I'm surprised about that. Penguin's only in a minute of the Batman movie.
It may be a little bit more, but I think that it's not much apparently. But we'll see. One thing that we'll definitely see next year is a movie that I've been looking forward to for quite a long time. Have you watched the Bob's Burgers series at all? Are you a Bob's Burgers fan?
I love Bob's Burgers. Of late, I haven't watched it, and it's just I don't know why. It just was one of those things where when I came back for the season, it just got buried in my mentions, and but still, I love it so much.
And Fox has a really weird animation schedule. It will come back for 2 episodes and then be gone for 3 months, and then they're like, "Oh, it's on." So I never know how to keep up because I usually do a 1-2 punch of Family Guy and Bob's Burgers. I love Bob's Burgers, and there's been a movie in development for quite a long time. And we just found out finally that, it has survived the merger and Disney's acquisition of Fox and will be coming to theaters May 27, 2022, which I believe is Memorial Day weekend, right?
I can never tell.
I think it might be because that's when Top Gun Maverick is coming out.
Oh God, yeah. So fantastic. That movie's dead.
Yeah, but the entire cast is back, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's similar to The Simpsons when they did their movie years ago. Obviously, Simpsons were around a lot longer than Bob's Burgers has been before it's going to a movie. But I love the freaking kids in this show. Gene is my spirit animal. Gene and Tina really are my spirit animals. So I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, this is going to be something that's great. I mean, when you look at the voice cast, it's truly unbelievable. It's led by H. John Benjamin, who somehow has the same voice in this and Archer, but still manages to play a completely different character with just the slightest differences in inflections. I think it's important to note how wholesome this show is, and so how wholesome the movie would be. It's interesting to think about it in terms of the Simpsons movie as well, because the Simpsons movie did come out when the show was starting to get unpopular. Now, I don't know what unpopular means because The Simpsons is still running somehow, but I don't know people that talk about it. And when the movie came out, there were people it sort of gave a resurgence to the series. And that's almost why they did the movie. Now, I don't know if that's the same reason why they're doing the Bob's Burgers movie, but it is great to see that that's going to come out and there'll be a resurgence, or this is just to notify that, hey, we will dump some money into this. We will put something together that's going to be great. Even though we have the animation, I guess it's difficult to draw. It must be expensive to draw, but it's not going to be as intense as most CGI type animation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think it could just be a good story. And like you said, it's almost a marketing tool for the series itself. I think Bob's Burgers is renewed again. And maybe it's one of the ones that's getting the multi-season renewals. But but it's just I love that show. It makes me laugh like no other because it's just very. Whereas there's a lot of shock value in Family Guy. This, like you said, is wholesome, and especially with the kids being like really the characters we're mostly following, they're freaking hilarious. And Gene says the dumbest shit, and I will laugh for hours about.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh my God. All right, so what I am not laughing about is the Teddy Ruxpin movie that is in development. Did you have a Teddy Ruxpin when you were growing up?
My parents were very corporate when it came to the stuffed animals. Like I would get like the Cookie Monster or like Chip and Dale Rescue Ranger, Simba, things of that nature. So I never really had a Ruxpin. No, it never got to me.
I do love Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, by the way.
Yeah. I forget which one I had, by the way, which is that makes me a very bad person. But I had the one with the leather jacket and the little hat. And so I didn't know if he was Chip or Dale.
I always get them confused. I think that's Dale. Or is that Chip? I don't know. Anyway, so Teddy Ruxpin was this really creepy thing that my mother loved for years and got for me. But it's basically a doll that has its eyes and or a bear, that its eyes and its mouth move to the sound of an audio tape that's placed in its back. For those of you who aren't familiar, here is the commercial from 14 years ago. Or, no, it was uploaded 14 years ago, but it's from the 80s.
Oh, God help us.
So it's tell time.
Another teddy bear? My teddy's name is Teddy Ruxpin. He talks, he tells stories,
Full battery is not included.
Hi, my name is Teddy Ruxpin. Can you and I be friends?
Yeah.
I really
Oh, my God.
people. I would like
Teddy Ruxpin, the
Oh,
story.
they cut him off.
Cut that off.
like shut that Teddy up.
So
play it again.
I'm not playing it again. It was, yeah. I remember he had friends. Like one is like some sort of giant insect. I don't remember the name of them. No, it's not Gumby, but it's similar to that. Grubby.
A giant insect named Grubby.
Yeah, and I never got Grubby, and I was really upset about it. But yeah, so apparently they're revisiting Teddy Ruxpin. They're going to turn it into a movie. What I think is going to be fascinating is we've had a live action teddy bear movie in Ted, so they really have to differentiate itself. Obviously, it's directed towards children, and they're hoping to spin off into an animated film as well. I mean, animated series. This sounds like Netflix all over it, by the way.
Oh God, yeah.
But yeah, so that's happening.
I mean, I see this as, like you said, this is going to be more for kids. So this is going to be so under our damn radar. This is going to be the 100% on Rotten Tomatoes Paw Patrol movie. And it's just one of those things where it's, I don't know. I mean, it could be interesting if they approach this from an angle of like, the Lego movie where it's like, hey, this is a toy. Let's talk about how this is a toy and, like some sort of deal with that. But that doesn't really sound like that could work. Like he gets struck by lightning and doesn't need the batteries and, is still able to sing songs about friendship, or maybe like, cause he tells stories. He's on the Forrest Gump bench and he's eating chocolates and he's, talking about all the stories he had. Hey, you know what? You brought this madness into this podcast.
Everything is awesome.
There we go. Now I forget what I was talking about because that's in my head. So thank you.
Everything is awesome. So I don't know. It's likely, in my opinion, is going to go to a streamer, and it's going to be something that the streamer tries to build, and then we forget about it, and kids binge it, and then it's over. But it's part of, I think, if you're watching the stream and you saw where that clip was from, it was from YouTube, but it was retrojunk.com. And I kind of feel like that's what's happening in a lot of studios is they're digging back into old properties and being like, what would work? What could we revive or transform into a film project?
They're finding something retro and making it junk.
Well, yeah. Speaking of junk, we're getting a Wonka movie. It is the origin tale to Willy Wonka. And we know that Timothée Chalamet is going to be starring in it. And now Keegan-Michael Key has joined the cast in an undisclosed role. Paul King will be directing. This is all really just on the agenda for us to chat about, just so that we are reminding everyone that this horror exists in the world or will exist in the world and is being planned for the future.
I will say, kind of excited about this casting, mainly because
tell me why.
He's a very comedic actor. Not only that, but he's good at like reacting to ridiculous things and sort of like maybe like spelling those out. So if this movie that's probably going to be bad, like if he can just like possibly ground it and talk about like, a bunch of silly things in it, then that might be able to be what saves this. But that's the one thing. That's the only thing I thought about with this is just like, okay, cool. He can like give some funny reactions to the stupidity here, and maybe we can have something good.
I'm just still wondering where this story is going to go, because we did have a little bit of like a look at when Johnny Depp's character, Johnny Depp's Wonka, meets the I almost said the Wonkas, the Oompa Loompas. So like we already know that it's a little eccentric, like in terms of his past, we had an eccentric look at it. So I'm just wondering like where they're going to go with all this story.
Well, they have nothing. Like, I mean, if they have to completely detach themselves from that remake, because he was a child with headgear and his father was a dentist, and like they had everything in that. I mean, they had way too much in that damn movie, but they had quite a lot in that movie. So that like there's already the origin story. It's right there. So I think they're doing something entirely different. I mean, to hope that they are some sort of like, I don't want to say gritty because that sounds stupid, but like something a little bit less colorful, if you will.
I agree. I don't want to see it, but I will.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's talk Marvel to wrap up for the evening. And before we get to rants of the night, I feel like for that, by the way, we're always going to say like, do you have a rant or a rave? And we're always going to be ranting. But
I keep on saying like, can I turn it into a rave? And it's like, no, it's going to be a rant.
That's a rave. Anyway,
that was a rant.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings just came out, but now we know of a lot more Marvel that's on the way, even more so than we did a week ago. We will be seeing the Eternals exclusively in theaters for 45 days before it is made available to rent online. So that's another interesting change that Disney is making here. But we're getting the Eternals in November. Following that will be Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness in March of next year, and then we get Thor: Love and Thunder in May of next year. These are just the Marvel specific. Of course, we have Sony's Marvel with Spider-Man: No Way Home that the internet is collectively losing their minds about, scheduled for December. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is set to hit theaters July 8th of next summer, and the Marvels, the Captain Marvel sequel, hits next November. Ready for more? Okay. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania will... I was just going to make a stupid joke. Head into theaters on February 17th, 2023, while Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will be in May. So May of 2023. So that's what we know, right? Here's what we've learned since. Basically, they just announced that there's 4 more untitled projects coming that have been dated for February, May, July, and November of 2024. But then we also have 3 untitled films, Marvel films, in July, October, and November of 2023. Mr. Math, that is 7 untitled Marvel films we have. Of course, we may be getting, one of them is probably Blade. We know that there's a Blade film coming from Bassam Tariq with Mahershala Ali. And then we also know that we are getting a Fantastic Four film at some point. But the rest of them, we have no idea. Do you have any theories of what this could be?
The balls on Marvel. They're just like, we're going to announce that 5 things. Like, what are they called? What do they mean? What are their synopsises? What are the characters? No, they're just 5 things. Get ready for our 5 things. Come worship. Clear the date for our 5 things. I love... I love the MCU, but this kind of pisses me off because this is just like they're not even making an announcement. They're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna do a thing. Well, of course you are. Like, what is that announcement? There's no announcement there. Like you're like, oh, we're gonna do a thing. Like, what? Like, oh yeah, this date, those are ours now. And then you can't have any. Like, I'm being unnecessarily furious at this kind of thing. I should, just be okay with the fact that, hey, cool, like 4 more Marvel movies, 5 more Marvel movies. I'm going to be excited about that. But I'm just perplexed on like how, like, all right, guys, we're going to do the big announcement. What's it going to be? We're going to make
untitled Marvel movies.
Like, are you kidding me? That doesn't make That's not an announcement. The lack of the logic there is what's bothering me. That's what's getting to me. Ah, damn.
Well, the logic I think is a business logic. It's just to fuck with other studios and being like, yeah, try to plan your movies. Like you want to go up against a Marvel film because they don't, and they know that, and they have a proven track record at the box office. One of these probably is going to be the fifth Avengers because I think Feige said recently that there is an Avengers 5 in the works, so that could happen.
This is something I was actually asking you. I was going to ask you like recently. The next phase of Marvel does not have an Avengers movie at all, correct?
As of now, but we have 7 untitled movies.
Is that still going to be a part of this phase?
I mean, I don't know. I don't understand how this works.
We don't know. They're going to announce like 5 more phases with we don't know what in them.
It sounds like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness really is kind of like an Avengers-esque movie. Like there's so many rumors about what's going to happen there. Apparently, one of the villains is rumored to be an X-Men foe from like the X-Men movies. So that would be an interesting way to kind of bring in the X-Men a little bit. In saying that, I'm thinking that one of these untitled films could be X-Men down the road. It could be, Deadpool 3. We know that we're going to get that at some point. So there's a lot of options. It's just crazy to think.
Let's say what they are. Like you're right. We are going to get what you have like a few pretty sure things. Like why don't they just like they know what the movie is. When they said when they were saying we're putting this untitled movie, they know what the movie is. That's what's driving me. Like they know.
Well, it's just it's got to be story driven, right? Like we probably, unless it's a direct sequel to something, we probably don't know what's going on or haven't been revealed, or it hasn't been revealed. It's probably a Mephisto movie. There's
don't put that in the world.
Here's the other thing though. This doesn't include the MCU shows that are going to be on Disney Plus. Think about how much Marvel.
You mean, they'll just 10 more untitled MCU shows now too. Like just announce whatever you want, Marvel. Like just do whatever you want. 20 MCU shows that are untitled. Who cares? We're living in this untitled world now.
Well, no, I don't think they're actually untitled. I mean, meaning that we know which ones we're getting.
Yeah.
We are getting a shit ton. I'm trying to pull up the list here.
Look at this.
Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Secret Invasion, Armor Wars, Ironheart, I Am Groot. We
didn't start the fire.
The Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
No.
Is that Hawkeye? So it's just, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. I'm here for it. I'm excited. It's wildly insane.
I'm watching this. Of course I'm watching this, but I'm just furious at them right now.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. They're like, hey, you think we're going anywhere? We're not. They should bring Avatar into the MCU.
I do truly feel bad for the people that hate comic book movies and stuff like that, because they're just like, oh, this really is we've been rooting against.
It's never going away.
It's honest to God, like the Jets fans. It's just this is the year. Nope.
Oh my God! All right, let's take a break. And we're back. All right. Rant and rave. I am going to start off with a mini rant about CGI. You and I have talked about this a little bit, and I got into this discussion with someone else today. One of the things that's frustrating me is we see a lot of reviews, and I'm guilty of this too, where we comment on the CGI being poor. Thinking back to the number of movies, I mean, we both see a ton of movies, but thinking back to the number of movies that had CGI in them, which is pretty much every movie now, and when they're the ones that are bad, I feel like that's the new standard. And my buddy kind of put it this way earlier, saying we're at a point where we just have to accept that this is what CGI looks like, and our brain knows it's fake and it's pretty unappealing to look at, but that's sort of what the industry has accepted, and that we're getting this as he put it, saturated synthetic looking CGI. And, Shang-Chi had some of this. You talked about it with the blood in the card counter. I'm trying to think of what?
In Malignant.
Oh, Malignant. I'm sorry.
No blood in card counter.
Not that we saw. That would have made it more interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But I'm trying to think of when it was really bad recently, the CGI. But my point with all this is just it's driving me crazy that we are getting poor CGI, because there was a time where it looked pretty solid, and I was about to say with the Matrix trailer that the CGI in the trailer looks good, but except for the very beginning, I hope that like the very beginning, that area, the shot of the building, I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is like
beautiful Atlanta.
What Sims bullshit is this? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I want to see some better CGI. I want to see the bar raised a little bit, because I do feel like we're falling back into this expectation that, like, for a Marvel film, we're going to get a shit ton of CGI, but we've gotten good CGI in Marvel films. But then to have, Shang-Chi, which kind of was like a CGI romp. I don't know. It was a problem. That's my timid rant. And I'll now turn to you, good sir.
Yes. So I'm going to rant about something that at this point has not actually bothered me this week, but does bother me quite a bit. And that is RottenTomatoes.com. Now, I'm not here to just completely say the website needs to be taken off the internet or completely disavowed. I think we need to worry about how we use RottenTomatoes.com, because it's an aggregate. All right. It is just something that takes a bunch of reviews, has them say yes or no, like Siskel and Ebert. And then, pretty much that percentage of yeses and percentage of no's is, taken. Not that complicated. Unfortunately, people take it as a, Bible. It is advertised in trailers, which should never really happen. And one of the biggest problems is it actually, people's perception of Rotten Tomatoes affects even the movies that do well. I think about Lady Bird. Lady Bird got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and almost everyone I know, every single person said, yeah, I loved the movie, but it was but was it 100% on Rotten Tomatoes? Yeah, it was the best movie of the year, but was it 100% on Rotten Tomatoes? Yeah, it was the greatest cinematic achievement that's ever been made in the entire world, but was it 100% on Rotten? So here's the thing. People say that, and they say they say that thinking that, there's certain rankings here. And guess what? Rotten Tomatoes does rankings, which is one thing they should truly do away with. But they do rankings where it's 100% best movie, 99% best movie. No. All that 100% means is that everyone walked out of Lady Bird liking it. Now, I'm not loving it, not saying it's the greatest movie of all time, but liking it. And that is true about Lady Bird. It's difficult to walk out of that movie not like it. It's really tough to do that. Some people might be like, no, I liked this movie better. Cool, right on. Yes, of course. But, everybody still would put it in a positive light. Now, that's the problem with Rotten Tomatoes, is that people look at it like the Bible. Like, they look at something and they're like, well, Heat is 93%, but Star Wars is 96%. So I guess Star Wars is better. Hey, Star Wars versus Heat, I'm not really here to have that conversation right now. But neither is Rotten Tomatoes. Just recently, you have the Paddington movies. Both Paddington and Paddington 2 got both 100%. Once again, for the same reasons. You're liking those movies when you walk out of them. You just are. There's it's science. So then then all of a sudden, Citizen Kane loses a little bit of the rating because a bad review was dug up and everything. And so people said, all right, so now it says that, so according to Rotten Tomatoes, Paddington 2 is the greatest movie of all time. I'll get mad seeing that Citizen Kane is the greatest movie of all time, and you'll hear me saying that a lot. But I'll get mad at those two. So I don't think they should be ranked that much. I think it should just be used as an interesting way to look at movies. So how should Rotten Tomatoes be used? As sort of an idea of how you should manage expectations. If you see that something is 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, say to yourself, okay, a lot of people liked it. I might not, but don't think about it as I will like this. And if I don't like it at a 99% level, it'll be bad. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. If you see a 50, think to yourself, 50 is the most important one. Think to yourself, oh, literally 50% of people like this or not. Now there's a big rotten emblem next to it, but just look at it and say, half the people like this, half the people didn't. If you see it at 30% or 20%, you could say, okay, so this might actually be bad, but maybe, there's still some people there, so maybe I do like it. I'm being childish right now. I'm being patronizing to our listeners. My apologies. My rant on Rotten Tomatoes is that it can be a great website if we use it the proper way, which nobody is using it the proper way right now.
This has been a journey. I think we should start our own website. Maybe I'll do it as part of Guy at the Movies, where people can just It's like it takes in everyone's reviews that want to submit, and you can go there and look, and you read them for what they are, but we don't put like a grade or anything on it. We just collect them for you,
like IMDb. Oh, you mean like
not like information about the movies or whatever, but just like the card counter. Here's reviews from 7 critics that wanted their reviews featured here. One from you, one from me, blah, blah, blah. And people can just go and look, and we're not telling them what the percentage is or, what they should think about it. I don't know.
Well, that's unfortunately the problem that I face, and probably I would assume that we face it together, is that people look at the 1 out of 5 or the 5 out of 5. They don't look at the review. For me, people look at the review C and they don't look at the review. So it would be interesting if we just did put like the words there, and then they'd have to read and make their heads hurt.
Well, and sometimes with my reviews, your head's really going to hurt. But I say that all the time, and you'll always catch me like in the comments when someone says, thanks, like I'm not going to see it now. You saved me that trip. I'm like, if you were interested in it, go see it. Like that's my perspective. And that's all you're getting from a critic is like their views. There's movies that we continue to fight about. Like the card counter is one that I didn't care for. You didn't care for. A friend of mine loved it. And it sounds like a lot of people loved it, but that happens. The Prom was wonderful. You hated it. It's fine.
Hate is not a come on now.
I'm kidding. But yeah, so I mean, I think there are certain people that I think gravitate towards some of us as critics because they tend to realize that they like agree with us more often than not. So they're looking for like, oh, what's the excitement level or what's the direction to go in. But I'm with you. I mean, when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes, it can be very deceiving. I say that as someone who has an application in for Rotten Tomatoes right now.
And it would be like, that's what I'm saying. Do not burn Rotten Tomatoes to the ground. Let's just know what those percentages mean.
The math guy says, know what the percentages mean.
Amen. I'm spreading it around.
Start spreading the news. All right.
Jeez.
God. I'm tired.
You're just getting tired.
Yeah, I am very tired. All right, let's talk about what's coming out this week. So Nightbooks is hitting Netflix. I believe that's Wednesday. Hasn't been too much promotion on that, but it is starring Kristen Ritter, which would be fun. The Cop Shop is coming out in theaters, which will be interesting. I have a screener for that I just remembered about that I have to watch. I'm really good and really organized, just so you know.
You're doing TIFF right now. It's an excuse.
It has me like all over the place. We have The Eyes of Tammy Faye coming out this week, I believe, right?
I think it surprised me, but it announced itself in theaters on my Fandango app.
Yeah, I think it got moved a week earlier. Huh, interesting. Oh, wow. I'm really excited to see that. So that should be fascinating. Cry Macho hits theaters and HBO Max, Blue Bayou in limited theaters. Everybody's talking about Jamie hits Amazon Prime Video, which everyone really is talking about, actually, saying it's a very good adaptation, which is fascinating given that Dear Evan Hansen is getting pooped on.
It's like I've heard some amazing reviews from Dear Evan Hansen that are just like F's or A's. It's like nobody's in between on this one.
Oh my God. I'm dreading having to review that because I'm probably going to be an A. Now, Lady of the Manor hits limited theaters and VOD digital, as well as Prisoners of the Ghostland limited theaters, VOD digital. So we have a lot going on, a lot of content, a lot of we are blessed, we are blessed with some movies coming out. Blessed, vaxxed.
Blessed, double vax bros.
But yeah, that's what's going on. Anything to share, Sean, with what you got coming up?
Yes, I will be. I don't know when it's going to be released, but I will be recording the Worthy podcast. I'll be on with the Worthy boys.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Oh, I should do that. I'm sure they'll love it. So that's going to be tomorrow. Then I will be on the Silver Screen podcast, which is at HudsonRiverRadio.com on Thursday from 6 to 7 to talk about the Emmys that are coming up on Sunday. And hopefully, if Sam wants to do it, we'll be doing another live taping of our Instagram Live during the Emmys, where she was on the couch texting behind me and made the occasional comment. Tricky part there is the wedding shower is on Sunday.
Oh my God. I did enjoy the end of your awards watch column, and it was like, be sure to catch the Emmys on Sunday, September 19th at 8 Eastern, and watch myself and my future wife on Instagram Live with all the reactions. Oh, man.
The best, I just got to sidetrack for a moment because the best moment of the Oscars was, because I was sitting on the couch and she is just like lying down, looking at her phone with a pillow, like kind of leaning against me. And, the big moment happens where Anthony Hopkins wins the Oscar and I'm like screaming and she just is in the background being like, they done fucked up. Just like not even looking up, like they fucked up.
Oh my God. Well, Emmys will be interesting, but check out the column on, whatever my website is, guidethemovies.com. And Sean, I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
As always, thanks for listening. You can follow both Joe and Sean on Instagram at Guy at the Movies and Math Teacher Movies. New episodes of the Guy at the Movies podcast with Joe and Sean are available every Wednesday morning, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, be on the lookout for special spoiler pods, where we dive deep into the latest film releases. If you like what you hear, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.